Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and once again it's time for another orc mode workout, and today is dynamic effort squat and deadlift day. Some of these videos are just going to get pretty long because of the amount of training volume I'm doing. And like I said, people need to remember this isn't even indicative of everything that I do, and I think eventually I'll gear towards doing maybe 5 or 6 training vlogs every week where you guys see what I do for GPP and stuff too, because by a lot of standards that's actually its own workouts, not necessarily for a stronger lifter, but for like a novice lifter it would be stuff they wouldn't even be able to do at all. So let's get over to the point. Today we started fairly light for this wave, and I really like the bar speed and explosiveness I was able to get by running a lot of band tension, but running the weights at around 40% of my last box squat max. This felt really, really good from an explosive perspective. So again, I'm just able to get in there and just drive it up, getting good bar speed, and it gets stronger as I go. And I also noticed later into the sets I was able to get out wider, because for me working on getting those feet wider is going to be important for the leverages I'm going to need in the long term. Both for training the sumo deadlift as well as maximizing the amount of weight I can lift. And a lot of people don't understand the really, really wide stance squatting like that, of why you would be able to lift more weight. It's not just about range of motion. It's about being able to actually maintain a more upright torso position. That's a big part of it, because you can maintain a far more upright torso even when it starts to get difficult near the top. That lets you lift a lot more weight. So it has to do with just your support musculature and everything else. So again, getting ready for a lot of that, that's one of the reasons I do things the way that I do it. But I know in the long term that if I want a really, really strong squat, I'm going to need to keep working on that. That is going to pay off for me in the long term, just due to my own structure. So building that mobility helps. And I've noticed as I get into these sets and my hips and everything get warmer and warmer, I'm able to get it all the way out to the edge of the rack. And for the final few sets, I was able to do that, and I'm really happy with that. Because again, you'll also notice is that the wider you get, the further back you can keep the knees. So again, a lot of it's about levers. It is about levers. And so we can use things like these speed squats and the speed pulls and the speed benching to get a lot of these things set up correctly in the manner that we want. So that's a big part of it, because we do a lot of high sets with this. And a lot of people don't understand the speed work. I'm seeing more people coming in who aren't familiar with it. Those who don't really understand dynamic work, I'm going to do more videos on it. But I have an entire series, like a 9-part series on conjugate training. And so that you can understand where the speed work fits into the grand scheme of things, that would be really helpful to watch, because it's just one of the basic 4 legs of the training system, right? It's max effort, dynamic effort, repetition effort, and then general physical preparedness. All 4 of them contribute to hypertrophy. But the thing is that as I get further into this, I don't care about overlap so much anymore, meaning all of my individual training systems tend to be a little more pure these days. If I'm training maxes, we train maxes, right? Max effort means max effort. Even though I'm rotating lifts, we lift to a single. I don't play with doubles. I don't play with triples, right? 1 rep. Dynamic work, we care about speed and power over speed eccentrics, whatever stretch reflexes things we can get depending upon the variation. It is about maximizing explosiveness repeatedly up to the limit of what you can generate and recover from in a session. So for me today, that's 10 sets of 3 on this, 20 singles on the speed pulls. But it's with a lightweight and putting a heavy, heavy emphasis on the things like the band tension, the chain tension. And I mean, I'm running a lot of them. Like in this case, so people say, how much band tension is it? That's 130 pounds of bands. So it's 202 on the bar with 130 pounds of band. And for people who've never trained with bands, that's speed work. That's people who've never done this solid training, they might be thinking, oh, well, I could do that. And their max squat, like their max back squat is 350. You wouldn't be able to do one of these. And I know a lot of people who don't do this solid training would look at that and say, that's not possible. Well, no, you probably would miss the rep. If you got lucky, you might get 1 rep. If you were to try a second one, that bar is going to jerk you back down and staple you, because you only have a 350 squat. You've got to pause onto a box. and then drive up against band tension that equals 330 at the top. All right, people who don't train with bands can't do their maxes with bands. In other words, if your max on a lift is 300 and I take 200 pounds of bar weight and put 100 pounds of bands against it, you might miss the lift. Even though in theory you would look at that and say that's not possible because we're stronger at the top and it's only 200 at the bottom, it doesn't sound right. If it was chains, you would be right. If it was chain work, you would be able to get it. But if it's 100 pounds of band tension and you don't regularly train with bands, you're probably going to miss the lockout. And when you fail to lock it, the bands are going to jerk you back down to the floor. And I don't care whether it's a bench, a squat, a deadlift. But the deadlift is going to rip the bar out of your hands. So bands are a different beast. But again, getting that drive through, getting that explosiveness, and that's what I'm noticing with some of the band max work. Now that I'm getting more and more used to doing bands, I'm able to really get those band lockouts. I'm able to follow through with it. So it means the speed's increasing. And today everything was nice and fast too. I mean, all these were explosive, right? It's explosive. And we're getting that full speed all the way near the top to where the only reason I'm decelerating is the bands. And what people need to realize, without that band tension there, I would get hurt. Like on the actual squats, if I were to speed squat with the same force I'm doing and pull the bands off, it would actually be dangerous with that bar weight. If I were to accelerate as hard as I possibly could, because I'm not going to decelerate enough at the top, and it could actually be a problem for your joints. By doing it with the bands, with the explosiveness, it changes our deceleration curve and allows us to continue to accelerate harder with actually a much, much lower risk of injury. It's very safe. Then we did 20 singles on the Sumo Deadlift for speed pulls. Same thing. Phenomenal for your grip training. Like, this probably helps my hook grip more than anything else I do, particularly the waves with the bands, because it's that jerk at the top. When you lock these at the top and then those bands jerk you back down, if you don't have your hook set, you're in trouble. And what it does is that since it jerks against that hook grip so hard, the grip training is phenomenal. Because people look at that and go, that's barely over 400 pounds at the lockout. But it's not just the weight. It's the fact that you get to that weight and then the bands jerk right at the top. So it tries to rip that out of your hand, and it actually feels like 50 pounds heavier, like 50 pounds more downward force than if it was straight weight. Okay, and that matters, especially when you do it 20 times. It's just great for that overall grip training. And I feel like at this point my grip is just going to come up. I may not really need to do extra grip work because all the pull-ups, all the speed pulls, everything else, when you factor in that I'm doing loaded carries every day and I'm trying to work towards doing pull-ups almost every day and stuff with body weight, just the sheer amount of grip work involved with everything, I'm hoping my grip is just going to stay on point. If the grip stays on point, we're going to be good. Same thing. It's one reason I'm not doing quite as much extra posterior chain work. I'm doing the good mornings once a week for a lot of volume. All right, we're doing that on max effort day. I'm not going to do as many of them on the speed day because, again, I'm getting all the speed work, getting all the explosive work, but then I'm trying to do more and more and more glute ham raises. And I think it will get to a point to where eventually, if I'm doing several hundred glute ham raises for my hamstrings every week as part of my conditioning, again, my hamstrings are going to continue to get stronger. So really, we just care about back. But, I'm also doing the loaded carries, doing the kettlebell swings, and the kettlebell swings have a hinge also. So, again, a lot of other stuff happening here. But I feel like the GPP work is helping me thicken up too. And that's one of the things that comes up also, and something I'll discuss further as I get more into that, is that when we're dealing with things like general physical preparedness, it's all encompassing. True GPP work improves your stamina, improves your cardiovascular conditioning, your muscular endurance, and it increases hypertrophy, right? Because GPP work is usually under load. It's high volumes of training, of loaded training in a way that gets your heart rate up. So yes, there's a conditioning component, but there's also a hypertrophic component. And since most of it is using, at least through the course of it, your full body, you're going to get bigger from it. I mean, I feel like even for me, my shoulders are going to grow from the kettlebell swings. One reason I'm not really adding much in the way of extra delt work in. I don't need it. I mean, because again, my normal training, then all the pull-ups, the dips, everything else is GBP. Then the kettlebell swings, as those go up and up, my delts are already fatigued. Like I feel like my delts are actually getting pretty tired from doing kettlebell swings. But I think the end result is that it's just increasing my overall thickness. It's improving my work capacity. It's getting me into better shape all the way around. And that's really kind of the final element to a lot of this. And it's something I have slowly just added a little bit here and there. And now I've taken it up a notch, and I plan on continuing to do so of again, that general physical preparedness. So that's your elements. It's max strength, explosive strength, which is what's being trained here today. Repetition work, which again, we see just for weak points now, right? Your weakest muscle groups get that rep work to you ingrain metabolic fatigue to make them grow, and then general physical preparedness, which just covers everything. It just gets you in shape. GPP work helps with hypertrophy, conditioning, stamina, recovery, everything. It just gets you into shape. And people who don't grasp it, go watch what CrossFitters do. CrossFitters basically do unstructured GPP. And a hell of a lot of them are in shape, aren't they? Even though a lot of them don't even do real lifting, they're still in shape. That's the fourth leg. That's the fourth leg of a training system like this. And it's working. I mean, I'm getting decently thick at this point. Right? I'm still not where I need to be. I need to keep losing fat. I need to keep gaining muscle so that I get stronger and get stronger for my weight class. And just be big, strong, explosive, relatively lean, right? That's what makes a good strength athlete. And that's what I've been trying to say with a system like this. It's not about saying, oh, I'm going to specialize in squat, bench, and deadlift. If you're jacked and strong and conditioned, and you are truly strong and powerful, you'll be good at powerlifting, right? Because that's all powerlifting is. Powerlifting is nothing more than a test of strength. It is not that much of a technique-based sport. You can teach someone the technique really fast. So it's honestly, if you're just big and strong and jacked, you're going to be good at powerlifting because it's 3 separate lifts that test different components. That's all it is. You don't have to train specifically for it to actually be good at it because it's not that type of sport. It is nothing more than a test of your overall strength. And if you're weak at anything, you're going to be weak at one of the 3 lifts, right? If there's any aspect to your strength, I don't care whether it's your hamstring strength, your grip strength, your pec strength, anything. If there's anything that has a weakness in it, you're going to be bad at one of the 3 lifts. It's just a test of strength, nothing more. That's all it is. It's a pure strength sport. That's why I say it's the best measure of pure strength that we have for a sport, because that's all it tests. And it kind of tests every muscle. Everything from your chest to your grip to your hamstrings to your quads get tested, to your core. That's all it is, test of strength. And when you understand that, you understand why this training works. Because this isn't powerlifter specific. It is strength athlete specific. Like we want to talk about orc mode, conjugate style training really is orc mode by a different name, really. That's why I call it orc mode. I love the concept. I love the theme. I think gamers love it. It's fun just to joke and call stuff orc mode. I like it. But it also gives you a mindset. It gives you a mindset with your training of, well, since orcs are big and jacked and aggressive, we'll train to be big and jacked and aggressive. Pretty straightforward. You guys are noticing I'm stamping my feet in a little harder as I go. Do you know why? Because I'm getting tired. Getting fatigued. And when you're fatigued, how do you increase neuromuscular efficiency to keep speed up? You have to get aggressive. Stomping your feet into the ground a little bit, digging them in, getting tight. Keeps that neuromuscular efficiency high. Because what is it that we're doing with speed work? We're treating every lift like it's a max lift. Every rep on dynamic work, we are lifting as hard and as fast as we can. We're pulling as hard as we can. We are squatting as hard as we can. We're pressing as hard as we can. We're trying to generate as much force and speed as we can. And that's why it works. It may not always look as fast as you would like, but the point is that you are moving it as fast as you're capable of. And that's the idea. But yeah, at a certain point, you know, on these, I would say usually around that 15th single, I start getting a little tired. You feel that fatigue mounting. Start getting out of breath. Because Because a lot of people see this and are like, oh, well, how long is these taking you? These are 30, 45 seconds apart. I turn my camera off. I usually walk around, count about 10, 15 seconds or so in my head, maybe 20, clamp my belt back down, walk over, hit the play button again on the camera each time. Walk over, set up, and pull. All right, that's the standard rotation. So it does get your heart rate up. You have to be in shape to do this. That's why GPP matters. You have to be in shape to do this style of training. And that's one of the things people who advocate it will tell you. You have to be in shape to do, especially the dynamic days, to get, because the work density is high. This stuff will test your conditioning. That's why this is athletic training, because it's all explosive. It's all about compensatory acceleration, but it's work density. If you're not in shape, you're going to struggle with it. So you've got to do the GPP to get in shape. And I'm not as in shape as I need to be. Like, I don't want people to think that I'm bragging saying I'm in phenomenal conditioning, because I'm not. I've got a long way to go. But we get there by doing it consistently, day after day after day after day. That's it. Put in the work. Then I did my box jumps. I think on one of these I kicked my toe on the first rep. Sometimes the first rep is the awkward one. Same thing I've been doing here, just my body weight with a 25-pound kettlebell. I'm on a 24-inch box. You guys can see, anyone who knows the specs on these Titan boxes knows it's 24. And these weren't bad. Like, I feel like it's going to be time for me to bump up to a bigger kettlebell here soon. Because other than the one where my toe kicked, these were not super challenging. So I did 10 triples. 10 triples. So I should probably grab my 40-pound kettlebell, which is the one I use for kettlebell swings, pretty soon and start doing them with that. And then if I get to the point where I can do 10 triples easily and clear that box, eventually I'm going to have to work towards the tallest setting, which is 30 inches. Now, to me, thinking about doing a 30-inch, another 6 inches of jump with a weight, it feels daunting to me. Not with just body weight. I mean, I'm not that worried. I think I could do that. It's doing it repeatedly with a weight. So that would take some buildup. So I need to know that I'm comfortable with, you know, the 40-pounder for a bunch of volume to the 24. And if I can get to that, then I know I can start doing the 30. And I'll probably do it just like I did these. You start with the body weight and then you build up. Start with body weight. And when that gets comfortable, I'll grab the little 5-pound kettlebell into 10. I've got 5 different kettlebells. So that'll get me there. But 10 triples of this. Nice, good speed. Oh, that's the one where I stumbled. Yeah, my toe kick scraped the top on the way up. Which could have been bad because I might have knocked the box over. Not like I'm a little light, dainty thing. So, but it went fine. You know, you do the best you can do. Those things do happen. You just got to be aware of it. I rethought about what I was doing each time after that. And it's just because of fatigue, you know, and you've got to watch that. Be very, very careful of anything you do. You've got to pay attention to fatigue. Got to pay attention to that, because you can make mistakes as you get tired. You can make mistakes as you get tired, and we don't want to see that. We don't want to see that. So pretty good though. 10 triples on the speed squats, 20 singles on the speed pulls, 10 triples on the box jumps. Pretty good dynamic effort day. I'm going to do some GPP later today of some type. So I hope this has been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.